I wanted to use my term to talk about how effective President Trump's the ceasefire that never was is working. This ceasefire is is a grenade, a political grenade in the politics of the Islamic Republic. Like it's working so beautifully. And I first want everybody in this group to appreciate how right we were about the main weakness of the Islamic Republic, their own internal division. Like over the years, we have been talking about this on our Persian channel, and now it shows that this is how you get them, guys. And I will show you something on the screen soon so that you guys understand this. But let me give you some better understanding about why this is the Islamic Republic's main weakness. And this is a political grenade affects so much more effectively in weakening the Islamic Republic more than missiles and drones and whatever, right? Because here's what something everybody here has to understand. If you think that the Americans and Israelis are winning, and the Islamic Republic supporters think that the Islamic Republic is winning, then the Islamic Republic is winning. Because the Islamic Republic considers, and this is correct, considers themselves to be winning as long as they could convince their followers that they're winning. This is why the psychological warfare for them is more important than the military one. And even the military warfare for them is mostly ammunition for them to have something to show to their supporters to convince them that they're winning. They don't need to win in the battlefield. They only need to have enough visuals and something to spin to convince their followers that they're winning, right? Because if you are defeating the Islamic Republic in the battlefield and you crush them 99%, destroy 99% of them, they understand that that 1% remaining is enough for them to be able to maintain control over the Iranian people as long as their supporters continue to support them. This is why all of these AI videos, all of this like nonsense stories that you see the Islamic Republic has on, you think they're retarded? They're not retarded. Their supporters are retarded, right? They're not retarded. They rely on retarded people, right? And they have fed their own supporters for many years this victory narrative of them being powerful and strong, and that has been the source of their authority for so long. And that's what you need to, they have become addicted to this. They have to this is what you have to feed them for them to be able to, for them to continue to support the Islamic Republic. You know that I mentioned this many times already here again before, that they have already given up on the most 95% of the Iranian people who are against the regime. They know that they can't have them. They're a lost cause for them. But their 5%, or I don't know, 3, 4, or 5% remaining supporters, they need to continue to have them to be able to continue for the Islamic Republic to survive, right? So the reason why this so-called ceasefire has been very effective is because it got the Islamic Republic to do the thing that it told its own supporters it will never do, which is negotiate with the Americans over a ceasefire. The reason why this is more effective than even than the missiles and all of the heads of IRGC that have been killed, like even killing the supreme leader, at the end of the day he became a martyr. We That's very sad, like, oh, let's cry, but hey, we're still here. He became a martyr. He sacrificed his life so that the Islamic Republic will continue, and the Islamic Republic will continue in their mind, right? You need to do something that they finally admit that they've lost something, right? So you blow up their power plants, they're like, we're good, we could do this, keep going. Do you blow up the bridges? They're like, we're good. Like the psychological warfare, they know how to continue pretending that they're winning. Okay, you kill all of the leaders of IRGC, they will somehow spin it as a win. Okay, but what they can't spin as a win is humiliation, is a humiliation that cannot be denied that happened. Like, because this is not our propaganda in their mind to them. This is their own propaganda from the regime to themselves. They heard the regime say that we are not going to negotiate with the people who killed Ali Khamenei, and now they're negotiating. Now the highest official of the Islamic Republic, one of the highest officials, which is Ghalibaf, is meeting with one of the highest officials of the United States, which is the vice president. For the past 47 years, we have never had a meeting between this high ranking people of United States and the Islamic Republic. This high up in the Islamic Republic and this high up in United States, when Ghalibaf and JD Vance meet, this is the highest ranking officials of both of these countries that are meeting for the past 47 years. And to do that after they killed your supreme leader, for the regime supporters, is a level of humiliation that they cannot accept. They cannot accept. So imagine, by the way, imagine if they want to give up on enriching uranium or give their already existing enriched uranium to the Americans. Like, given that they are so butthurt over this meeting, imagine how butthurt they're going to be over that. So this is why the Islamic Republic cannot ever do, like, even do that, right? So Ghalibaf is right now stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he knows that something that these idiot regime supporters don't understand is that if President Trump comes out and takes out the infrastructure, then they're not going to be able to have enough money to be able to continue fund the war machine, and that will bring their end closer. But he also understands that if he talks to the Americans, that's a negotiation that that they said that they would never do. That is so humiliating that so many regime people will turn against him. So his solution is to get the state TV, the state media, to come and announce that Mushtaba Khamenei has given his blessings for Ghalibaf to do this. I mean, and the fact that Ghalibaf is and Mushtaba is nowhere to be seen is raising a lot of suspicion that, are you guys actually, did Mushtaba really say that, or are you guys making this up, right? So uh, we have parts of IRGC that doesn't want this negotiation to go through, doesn't want the ceasefire to go through, and they have the guns, so they have a lot more military power. But we also have now Ghalibaf as on the other side, who wants the ceasefire because he understands that they're going to get defeated, you completely defeated militarily if they don't do this. But so now, because of all of this, we have an internal division. So let me actually show you. Let's go to our bingo card again. So we now have an internal war between Ghalibaf. Again, people keep mentioning Ghalibaf as the head of the legislative branch, but he's more important as part of IRGC and also as a member of the Supreme Security Council. That is more important. Okay. And you can see that he's not the highest authority there. So that means that he's not the highest authority in the country. Okay. Actually, the highest authority in the country right now is Ahmed Vahidi. And I mentioned to everybody that, like, after Larijani was dead, I said that he's the most important person that needs to die next, in my opinion. That's when everybody was focusing on Ghalibaf, I was focusing on Vahidi. But people didn't know who Vahidi is at that point. But now more people are also paying attention to Vahidi. For me, the top five people within the Islamic Republic is Ahmad Vahidi as number one. I would say Abdullahi as the head of Khatam al Anbiya, Hussein Najat as the head of Sarallah, and then Ghalibaf is also one of the five, but also Radan will be also one of the most important ones here. Okay, so Radan, these three people, Vahidi, Abdullahi, and Najat, and then Ghalibaf, and Zulqadr is also now very important. Okay, Zulqadr. So now we have Ghalibaf and Araghchi on one, Ghalibaf, Araghchi, and maybe Pezeshkian. Pezeshkian is not that important, but Pezeshkian also on one side. And then we have Zulqadr and Vahidi on the other side. Right? And all of these other IRGC members, leaders that I saw on the other side, right? So these three want the negotiations to go through. The Zulqad and Vahidi and Abdullahi, they're more on the side of no ceasefire, continue the war. because they're more on the side of isolation, because IRGCs, this goes, by the way, guys, this is a very historical infighting within the Islamic Republic, because there's parts of the Islamic Republic that benefit financially if Islamic Republic opens up a little bit to the world, but there are more important parts of the IRGC that benefit financially when the Islamic Republic is completely isolated, right? And these people here who are right now against the ceasefire and negotiations are part of the IRGC that financially and politically benefit from more isolation. So this is not the beginning of this drift. This is actually like it's years in making, right? So Ghalibaf is by siding with Arakchi is making many pro-regime Iranians to just basically throw him in with their so-called reformers, because Arakchi is also considered one of the so-called reformers. But Ghalibaf is now being considered a Zionist spy, just like the other reformers by the pro-regime people. But here's the details of it. I said this on the live show, but I want people here to know this in detail as well, in case you haven't watched the show. So look at this. Senior Iranian officials are locked in a dispute over the composition and authority of the delegation set to negotiate with the United States in Islamabad, according to information received by Iran International. The IRGC commander in chief, Ahmed Vahidi, is seeking to curb the authority of Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. Guys, this right here, I've been telling you that this is what's happening behind the scenes, and now it's out in the open. You guys should be impressed by me now, okay? Because I've been telling you that this is happening before it actually came out, okay? So this is why this is why you come here, okay? Because the thing that I said was going to happen, that is happening, now it's out in the open. So, and this is big, by the way. We have Vahidi against Ghalibaf. This is not a minor, this is basically a drift at the highest levels of the remaining parts of the Islamic Republic. So again, let's read that again. The IRGC commander in chief, Ahmed Vahidi, is seeking to curb the authority of Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in the talks. Vahidi has also pushed for the inclusion of Mohammad Bagher Zolgad, Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, in the negotiating team, a move opposed by current members who consider him lacking experience for strategic negotiations. So, guys, remember I showed you him over here. This is Zolgad. We'll come back to him in a minute, but let's go back here. At the same time, Vahidi and the IRGC Aerospace Force Commander have stressed that the delegation must avoid any negotiations over Iran's missile program. So if we come back here, so Zolgad is basically on Vahidi's side of this, and they don't. So Zolgad and Vahidi don't trust Ghalibaf and Araghchi because they think that you're going to go and be too flexible to Americans, and they want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Araghchi and Ghalibaf are trying to not allow Zolgad to join them, with the excuse that, oh, he's just not experienced within politics, he's a military guy, but the actual reason is because their interests do not align, right? And just something else to note, so guys, the Supreme Security Council is the highest level of decision making body, like within the Islamic Republic. A lot of people think that the legislative and the judiciary and the executive are part of the decision making process. None of them are at all relevant compared to the power that the Supreme Security Council has. And when Ali Khamenei was alive, his two forces, one was the Supreme Security Council, and the other one was the state media, or IRIB, and the rest of his propaganda arm, including the Madahs, which is basically the religious vocalists, right? So now with that Ali Khamenei dead and Mushtaba Khamenei nowhere to be found, these units are becoming their own independent decision-making bodies. So we have the Supreme Security Council, we have the IRGC, IRIB is becoming its own decision-making body, which is interesting. We could go into the politics of that later. But here's the important part that I want to highlight. When Larijani was killed, Ghalibaf was not put as the secretary of the Supreme Security Council. Zolgad was put, which shows like this is the first sign, even before any of this division started. This already shows that the IRGC, because who's making these decisions? It's the IRGC. The IRGC chose somebody else that was not Ghalibaf as the head of the Supreme Security Council, which was the first signs of the divisions taking place. But I think Ghalibaf's main, because he, even though Ghalibaf has his own loyalists within the IRGC, that's not enough for him to be able to have that level of authority. We saw he had enough control over the IRGC for some ships from some oil tankers to go through the Strait of Hormuz to impress President Trump earlier. So he has some control within the IRGC, but not enough. Vahidi has most of the power. So they have the guns. Ghalibaf doesn't. So Ghalibaf will not be able to force his way on the IRGC. However, Ghalibaf seems to have some control over the state media, because the state media keeps announcing that Mujtaba Khamenei is giving the blessings to the ceasefire and the negotiations to Ghalibaf as a way to convince the regime supporters to go with it. So that might suggest that Ghalibaf has some influence within state media right now, but that is not working because the pro-regime people are extremely angry. I mean, I've already shown you 10 different videos of regime supporters coming out and cursing the ceasefire. I just wanted to show you one more before we go back to you guys. So this is only 20 seconds. The subtitles are incorrect translation, so I'll give you the correct translation. So he's saying, you Western loving people, like basically the people who are betraying the Islamic Republic. He's saying, curse be upon your father and your mother. So he's basically calling Ghalibaf and Arakchi, who did the ceasefire, to be West lovers or people who have leanings to the West. And he's saying, curse be upon your father and your mother. So he's a Mr. Arakchi, dust be upon your head, basically mean curse you, Arakchi. Look, he's saying, look, the people are having a heart attack, people are having a stroke. So these are the pro-regime people. They're screaming when they heard that there was a ceasefire. So look what you're doing. These people are having a stroke. So people are basically chanting against the Islamic. These are the pro-regime people chanting against the foreign ministry in front of the foreign ministry building. So he's saying, look, I swear upon the Quran that they're having a stroke. Like, curse be upon your father. Curse be upon everything you have. Curse be upon your existence. So this is like, I have so many videos like this. The pro-regime people are very angry. The pro-regime people's understanding was that they're winning this war against the United States and Israel, and the ceasefire was just basically some traitorous Zionist spies who basically stopped the war to save the Americans and save the Israelis. That's their understanding of what was happening. They're like, given that we knew that we were winning, why are we doing a ceasefire? By the way, Casey, that's a great shirt. I love that shirt. All right. So I just wanted to give you that because this is beautiful. I'm loving it. The so-called ceasefire is dividing the Islamic Republic from the inside, and it's just beautiful. Just wanted to share that. So we're all on the same page with that.